The Crusades, 1096 to 1291. The Crusades were a series of religious wars sanctioned by the Catholic Church between the 11th and 13th centuries, primarily aimed at reclaiming the Holy Land from Muslim control. Pope Urban II's call to arms in 1095 ignited a wave of religious fervor, leading to the First Crusade and the brutal conquest of Jerusalem in 1099. Crusaders massacred Muslims, Jews, and even fellow Christians, with reports describing streets filled with blood up to the ankles. Subsequent crusades saw varying degrees of success and failure, with figures like Saladin and Richard the Lionheart shaping the Third Crusade. The Fourth Crusade took a shocking turn when Crusaders attacked Constantinople in 1204, devastating the Byzantine Empire and deepening the Catholic Orthodox schism. The Children's Crusade of 1212 was a tragic event where thousands of children, believing they were divinely chosen, perished or were sold into slavery. Though framed as holy wars, the Crusades were also driven by political ambitions, territorial expansion, and economic gain. These conflicts left a legacy of religious intolerance and intensified hostilities between Christians and Muslims. The Crusades also facilitated cultural exchanges, inadvertently contributing to the Renaissance by reintroducing classical knowledge to Europe. Their impact still resonates in modern Christian-Muslim relations, shaping historical perspectives on religious warfare. The Spanish Inquisition, 1478 to 1834. Established by Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella, the Spanish Inquisition aimed to root out heresy but became infamous for its brutality. Thousands of Jews and Muslims who had converted to Christianity were suspected of secretly practicing their old faith and were subjected to torture. The Inquisition developed cruel methods such as the strappado, suspending victims by their wrists, and the rack, forcing confessions under extreme pain. Those found guilty were often burned at the stake in public spectacles called auto da fe. Even prominent intellectuals and scientists risked persecution if their ideas contradicted church teachings. The fear it instilled led to widespread paranoia, false accusations, and social divisions. Over 150,000 people were investigated, with thousands executed or imprisoned. The Inquisition remains a symbol of religious intolerance and oppressive control. The witch hunts, 15th to 18th century. Between the 1400s and 1700s, tens of thousands of people, mostly women, were accused of witchcraft and executed across Europe and North America. Fueled by religious hysteria, misogyny, and superstition, these hunts were encouraged by both Catholic and Protestant leaders. The infamous Malleus Maleficarum, published in 1487, described how to identify and eliminate witches, worsening the paranoia. Trials often involved cruel tests, such as dunking accused women in water. If they floated, they were guilty. If they drowned, they were innocent but dead. The Salem witch trials of 1692 saw mass hysteria in colonial Massachusetts, with 20 people executed based on false accusations. In Germany and Scotland, entire villages were wiped out in witch hunts. Fear of satanic influence justified these brutal campaigns, but personal vendettas and greed played a major role. The witch hunts exposed the dangers of religious extremism and mass hysteria. The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Day, 1572. On August 24, 1572, thousands of French Protestants, Huguenots, were slaughtered by Catholic mobs in a wave of religious violence. The massacre began in Paris but quickly spread across France, lasting for weeks. The killings were triggered by rising tensions between Catholics and Protestants, exacerbated by political struggles in the French monarchy. Huguenot leaders had gathered in Paris for a royal wedding meant to unite the factions, but instead, they were ambushed and murdered. The carnage, which left as many as 30,000 dead, was encouraged by King Charles IX and possibly even Pope Gregory XIII, who celebrated the event. Bodies were dumped into the Seine River, and homes were looted and burned. The massacre worsened the French wars of religion and led to further Protestant persecution. It remains one of the most infamous religious killings in European history. The Taiping Rebellion, 1850 to 1864. The Taiping Rebellion was a massive civil war in China, led by Hong Xiuquan, who claimed to be the younger brother of Jesus Christ. Hong believed he was chosen by God to overthrow the Qing dynasty and establish a Christian theocracy. His movement, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, attracted millions of followers but also triggered one of the deadliest conflicts in history. The war resulted in the deaths of an estimated 20 to 30 million people, making it more deadly than World War I. Entire cities were destroyed, and both Taiping and Qing forces committed horrific massacres. The rebellion collapsed in 1864, but its devastation left China politically and socially weakened. Religious fanaticism combined with political ambition led to one of history's bloodiest uprisings. The Taiping Rebellion remains a chilling example of how religion can be weaponized for mass violence. The Holocaust, 1941 to 1945. While the Holocaust was primarily driven by Nazi ideology, religion played a significant role in the persecution of Jews. Centuries of Christian anti-Semitism in Europe created an environment where Jewish scapegoating was widely accepted. Adolf Hitler exploited these prejudices, portraying Jews as enemies of both Christianity and Germany. 6 million Jews were systematically murdered in concentration camps, along with other religious minorities such as Jehovah's Witnesses. Many Catholic and Protestant leaders remained silent or complicit, fearing Nazi retaliation or sympathizing with anti-Jewish sentiments. Some clergy members even actively supported Nazi policies, further enabling the genocide. However, a few religious figures, such as Dietrich Bonhoeffer and Maximilian Kolbe, risked their lives to protect victims. The Catholic Church's failure to openly condemn the Holocaust remains a deeply controversial issue. This tragedy exposed how religious biases can be manipulated to justify mass murder. The Holocaust remains one of the darkest chapters in human history, serving as a reminder of the dangers of intolerance. The Partition of India, 1947. The partition of British India into Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan resulted in one of the worst episodes of religious violence in history. Religious tensions between Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs exploded into chaos, leading to mass killings, rapes, and forced migrations. An estimated 1 to 2 million people were killed in riots and massacres, while 15 million were displaced. Entire trains full of refugees were ambushed and slaughtered based on their religious identity. Women were abducted and brutally assaulted, often forced to convert. Religious leaders on all sides played a role in inciting violence instead of fostering peace. The scars of partition still affect India-Pakistan relations today. This tragedy highlighted the dangers of using religion as a tool for political division. Jonestown Massacre, 1978. The Jonestown Massacre was one of the most chilling religious tragedies of the 20th century. Led by Jim Jones, the People's Temple cult initially promoted racial equality and utopian ideals, but descended into paranoia and control. In 1978, over 900 followers, including children, were forced to drink cyanide-laced punch in a mass suicide murder in Jonestown, Guyana. Those who resisted were shot, including a U.S. congressman investigating the cult. Jones convinced his followers that their deaths were an act of revolutionary suicide to escape oppression. Survivors described brutal psychological manipulation and fear-driven obedience. The event became a symbol of the dangers of religious cults and blind faith. Drinking the Kool-Aid is now a phrase used to describe extreme ideological commitment. The Rwandan Genocide, 1994. The Rwandan Genocide was a devastating ethnic and religious conflict that led to the deaths of nearly 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus in just 100 days. Many Catholic priests and nuns were complicit, with some actively participating in the massacres. Churches, once considered sanctuaries, became sites of unimaginable slaughter as Hutu extremists murdered thousands seeking refuge. Some religious leaders not only failed to stop the violence but also encouraged the killings, betraying their moral duty. While a few clergy members risked their lives to protect victims, many religious institutions remained silent or powerless. The genocide deeply shattered Rwanda's trust in religious organizations, especially the Catholic Church. In the aftermath, the Church faced intense scrutiny for its role, leading to an eventual public apology. However, for many survivors, the wounds caused by religious betrayal have never fully healed. The genocide remains a tragic reminder of how religion can be weaponized for violence. Despite this dark past, Rwanda has worked toward reconciliation and rebuilding its faith communities. ISIS and religious terrorism, 2014 to present. The rise of ISIS brought brutal religious terrorism to a global scale. Using extreme interpretations of Islamic teachings, ISIS justified horrific acts such as mass executions, beheadings, and sexual slavery. They targeted Christians, Yazidis, and even fellow Muslims who did not conform to their ideology. The group's destruction of ancient religious sites was an attempt to erase cultural history. Their propaganda attracted foreign fighters, fueling global terror attacks. While ISIS has lost much of its territory, its ideology continues to inspire violence worldwide. Many Islamic scholars have condemned ISIS, stating that their actions contradict true Islamic teachings. Their reign of terror serves as a reminder of how religious extremism can lead to unimaginable suffering. If you enjoyed this video, you won't want to miss the next one. We're diving into every religious prophet, exploring the lives and teachings of the most influential spiritual figures across different faiths. Who were they? What did they preach? And how did they shape the religions we know today? Stay tuned for a fascinating journey through history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. See you in the next video.